Welcome to the Neighbor podcast. I'm your number one host, Belash.
Hi guys, listen to the Tech podcast.
You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Neighbors, and let's get interactive. I'm sure you're going to enjoy today's topic. You know, since when God created human beings, we've always been seeking shelters, staying in caves, building huts. But now our homes are smart. They think for themselves. They make our lives comfortable. So today our topic is how tech has influenced our homes, how AR and VR would influence our future buying. And I have Daniel and Samuel Appiah-Kubi, aka the Labali Hustler. I'm just joking. I'm sure everybody's laughing by now. Yeah. So talking about smart homes and AR and VR, I believe Daniel somehow has something smart in his house that he would want to tell us about.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Melash. Well, I'm curious though. This your slurring voice is awesome, man.
Really?
Is that what you use on the ladies?
Charlie, I need that. I need that to win the ladies over. Because I'm the one and only Melash. I'm supposed to be hot.
Anyways, thank you very much for the intro. As always, it's an honor to be here. I don't know, boss. It's home, it's family. So talking here is awesome. Malash, you're asking if there was something smart in my house. Well, the smartest thing I have in my house is the people here who are the smartest. But when it comes to part of the house, then I'd say nothing yet, which is very unfortunate.
Are you serious?
Man, it's how you could do one, bro.
Sammy,
Boss,
what's the smartest thing in your home?
the smartest thing in my home?
Yeah.
Right now, I just moved into my new apartment, so it's a Google Home Mini.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
Whoa.
but I mean, the smartest thing could also be the phone. It could be a lot of things, but yeah, that's the smartest thing in my home right now.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, don't ask me. I don't have anything smart except my laptop.
Sammy, what does the Google Mini do?
I mainly use it for just playing music, and also I have a smart socket, so which is connected to my lamp. So anytime I'm going to sleep, I just say lamp off, and then it goes off. Basically,
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's mainly the main thing I use it for. I used to have an Alexa for ordering stuff, but I gave it to a friend. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a mention of Alexa. There's a mention of Google. Google what?
Home Mini.
Interesting. So what if somebody hacks those things and now they're actually listening to your conversation? How would you feel?
I mean, these Alexa and Google Home Mini actually have people listening to you. Not constantly, but they actually have people listening to you. So it's not always, but certain keywords triggers the listening of people. But Alexa, sorry, if you deeper, it's actually like always listening to you. There's an activation where you say, "Hey Google," or maybe "Hey Alexa," but it's always basically listening to you. So in terms of hacking and like security stuff, right now I don't see it as a huge case, but going forward it would be, and it's the main thing these companies focus on actually. So it's there are a lot of ways you can make it uniquely to the person. So I don't really see anything over there in terms of if you could make commands tailored directly to the person's phone. So you could always second check like a OTP. that checks if it's actually you, or you could also make it recognize the person's specific voice. So there are a lot of ways to go about that to ensure that there's actual safety. And also uh, these things are actually connected to your actual devices, and they allow sync. So it doesn't pose any like huge security risk, I think. Yeah.
You mentioned OTP.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a one-time passcode. So you know how sometimes when you're logging into your Google account, after you put in your email and password, just to verify again, it sends you a one-time passcode to your phone number, and you put it inside. So it's like a second check to see it's actually
Interesting.
you, basically. So you could have that. You could always second check since you have phones with you and all of that. Yeah.
So here's what I was watching a YouTube video where the guy is walking home and he presses his phone, and by the time he enters his house, his water is already hot at the temperature he knows already. I think it knows already. The lamp knows when he's going to sleep, when to go off, and all of that.
Hmm.
That's a total smart home, yes?
Yeah, close.
Close.
Hmm.
And should I say those smart homes would be working with internet connectivity?
Right.
Great. What happens when your internet goes off?
That's a challenge. I think where technology is going to, and in advanced countries, that shouldn't be a huge problem. But I mean, IoT helps us prevent that. When you have your iPhone and your phone watch and your MacBook, all these three devices are like a hub, right? You don't really necessarily need internet. You only need the internet to access the data on them that you sync across them. But to make them talk to each other, you actually don't need internet. But for like essential stuff, you would. And I don't see in the US, you really don't. In most prominent cities in Europe, you won't. Also in Africa, increasingly you find that with the vertical rise of technology, you're finding that certain countries, or most countries, internet wouldn't be a problem anymore. In most countries. So currently, if you don't have internet, it wouldn't work. But as we going forward, that shouldn't be a problem, I think.
Interesting. Daniel,
Yeah.
you
And I
see how.
also I would like to just say that the
Mhm.
main concept, the main I like to suggest that typically the
Okay, so Daniel just went off a bit. You see the concern I was raising. Samuel, can you help him? Or should I tell Alexa to help him?
So in college, right? This I actually did two of my personal projects were actually on like home stuff, and so freshman year when I came in, I got to college. That was the first time I actually had to handle a key. So they gave me my key to my room, and I was rooming with this guy from Texas, Ben. He's actually like a very close friend of mine. We roomed for the entire 4 years. And so freshman year, we came in and we had keys. And at Duke, if you lose your key, it's $95 to get it back, basically. So we lost our key the first time, and I went to get another one, and it got lost again. And I went to get another, and my roommate's the same. He lost it like about 4 or 5 times. And so before we left for the other semester, we're like, hey, how can we get into our room without actually like locking or unlocking when we get to the place? So we ended up doing a rope thing where we have a rope behind it and we pull and it turns a gear. We 3D printed the parts for it. We
Smart
came back
ass
and it
guy.
wasn't working the following semester. So that semester we were both taking intro to electrical and computer engineering, and we decided to use an Arduino board to actually open our door. So we knock on the door 5 times, and we're using a piezoelectric to read the signals. And when you knock it on like said 5 times within 6 seconds, it actually turns the door automatically, basically. And so we did that, and we didn't have to lose any key. Our key was like stored. We didn't lose anything for the rest of the semester. Second year we came back and we're like, this is boring. Knocking on the door, it's actually like it hurts your hands. How that is. So we're like, oh, we could take it one step ahead. So then we decided, why not use facial recognition? And we did that. Duke actually came to record it and all of that. So we use a camera to open our door and enter. So whenever we're going out, we just press a button. It locks the door whenever we come in, and we didn't need internet for any of that. It was basically installed inside it. The third phase that we didn't complete was sending a text to our phone, because some friends would come up our door and use our pictures
And it worked.
to enter into the. Yeah, it worked sometimes, like 3 times it worked. So then we actually then changed it and make we were sending emails to us whenever anyone logged in or unlocked our door, and we're like, oh, emails, you probably would need internet for that, so why not do text? So then that was the next phase we're going to do, and we didn't really need it. So I would say increasingly, if in places where internet is becoming a problem, there are a lot of hacks to actually go by it and not depend on internet. And if you have all these devices being on in one room, all you need to do is just read stuff from the person who is in the room, right? Because how does the temperature, how does the thermometer know that you are hot or you are cold? You could just use the Apple Watch on your wrist that tells your temperature. You could just have a lot of things like how heat sensors in the room, taking your heat and telling the thermometer that, hey, it's actually, this person is actually cold right now or pretty hot, so adjust the temperature basically. So it's, there are a lot of ways you can hack it without internet. Yeah.
Yes. So you've said a lot, and we could
Yeah.
hack into your room with your normal picture.
Right.
So what is stopping anybody from hacking into your
No,
normal
Yeah,
screen
but
too?
wait, to what you said, I was saying that we were using a Raspberry Pi and a very, like, we got a $12 camera. Like, it wasn't even expect, like we just needed to the functionality to be done. But there are a lot of ways you could upgrade the code and also the hardware to prevent it from, like, it's not, you can use the picture to unlock the phone, or the door basically. So there are a lot of ways you could, if you're actually mass producing this and giving it to people, you could make it better, I think.
That's interesting to hear. So your project is actually something very interesting. I'm actually happy you have to find your way through all of that and then make it work for you. Pretty much me, I'm thinking about how to have the next system like your friends. Daniel, are you still there?
I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you very well. The 3G is like 2G there. We understand you. This is where your home locks you
Really.
out of your own house and tells you you're an imposter.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah, so I'm about to take the whole discussion to another level. Okay, let's talk
Yeah, but
about.
before you do,
Sure, tell me something, Daniel.
I was gonna just point out that you see all these things that Appiah is talking about. Smart homes do not just come in because we are bored of living in the houses that our parents lived in, but I think we spend a lot of time in the house. Say about 8 hours a day we spend in the house. So if you are doing something like that, you're expected to be comfortable. It should have some sort of ease, and it should be secured. So from the lamp that Appiah spoke about to the heat sensors to even the door, the security at the door not losing his keys, all range around these three factors. So when it comes to the emergence of smart homes, this is it. This is what we look at, and then we move into that particular site, basically.
Interesting,
So please do carry on.
interesting. So let me remind you though, this will be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube. Don't worry, you're also being very smart. Now let's move on to ARs and VRs, augmented reality and virtual reality. Well, my first encounter with that is when I saw people playing games with it. Now, how would that have an effect on the future house you buy? Because Now we build 3D versions of almost everything we want to do. Sammy or
Y-
Samuel,
Yeah.
have you had a chance to use ARs or VR? Obviously, you had because you're already a coder, and then if you work with Microsoft, you're supposed to have something to do with ARs and VRs already.
Yeah, so I actually I am a huge fan of AR and VR. I got the Oculus Go, I got the Quest. And when I actually pre-ordered the Quest and got it the day it came out. The I've used the ATC Vive. What's there's this other one. Yeah, but I've used most of them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, I haven't had a chance to use any of them, but I've seen people crash their head on their walls for using it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Danny, imagine you can look at how your
Yep.
future room will be like and design the paint, walls, and everything there. How would that feel like?
I believe that would be awesome. That would be like next gen stuff. And in terms of AR and VR, these are some of the emerging techs we have in the industry. They are not new per se, but we are still discovering new things about them. And day in, day out, we tend to explore new ranges. I think it has been introduced into the construction industry, the
True.
design and construction industry. So looking at the smart homes, we are looking at not just the homes that you live in, but how they are built. So the architect, a layperson can even design his own house using 3D modeling. I think there's a recent software that is now being used compared to the AutoCAD, that's the building information modeling. It's a new 3D modeling system that is being employed. So you can pre-design a building and then run different simulations using the AR and VR tech to see how the building would react to all those circumstances. So you know that technically in some places in the world, their buildings are not erected straight like at 90 degrees to the floor, to the ground, but they're actually slanted to a particular degree based on the direction of the wind and the strength of the wind. So with this particular 3D modeling system, you could erect a building virtually and then apply different forms of circumstances to it, different situations, and you see how the building would react to this particular situation. So it would help. It would help in the in actually the lifespan of the building and how strong, how safe it would be for the people. So having the AR and VR and the latest tech in general would be awesome in homes. Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. I've had a chance to watch too much TV, so most of my experience is from TV, where I see government and people fly drones with ARs and VRs, and I it comes to mind how you sit in your own comfort of your home and tractor or your payloader or things like that at the construction site. That's what I am looking at in the next 30 years if it's not already been in place. And that would reduce the amount of risk it poses to human life, construction hazards at the construction site. Talking about hazards, I know Daniel works with something which has something to do with hazards. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%.
Great. So with VR and AR in the system, I know that means you have to calculate risk analysis. Am I right?
No, I think we're going to stick to the basics for now.
I like that. So if you're listening to us again, I would like to tell you to it's IO Neighbors. Okay. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, follow us on Twitter. Oh, and then hit the subscribe button so that when there is more you can hear. So I think we should just wrap up today's discussion, unless of course you have something more to say to help the human race.
Yeah, quick. I just wanted to give a quick add up. I think, as Daniel was saying, with AR and VR, in terms of like consumer side, it's not really having a huge impact on how we live in our homes. with constructions mainly too, we only use VR headsets in order to sort of function as a see through through the lens of the drone basically. So the drones that I use for construction mainly like have cameras, right, that
Yeah.
render 3D modelings of these buildings. And as the construction is going on, you want to see what it looks like basically. So you can see through them. And I think in 2015 there were also drones that can now like lay bricks, and that has been used also in the UK and some other parts of the world. So
Mm.
you can that's I don't think that's necessarily AR and or VR. I think
Yeah.
it's 3D modeling. In
Yeah.
terms of VR, how it works, I think it's an entirely new world. VR doesn't even coincide with the real world as we have it. So it's just having things be in there. In on the consumer side, I can see people having like their houses being rendered in VR, and furniture companies also providing 3D modelings of their furniture, and people could place and see what fits. Basically, it's not here yet, but that's what you could do with that. But in terms of how the home is made, using like VR specifically, it's basically just 3D modeling. AR, I think having AR in a home, if you've used Oculus Quest, so you can basically, it's not tethered. It's standalone, and you get to use it without connecting to anything. And you can move around if you define your um, range of motion. Like you can have a specific room where you work inside there. So it's necessarily VR, but you can see actually through the headset since he has cameras. And if you are having something that's AR in a home, games and having kids play around with all of that could work, but given that there's like only a limited number of things you would want to see, like if you wanted to see the temperature on the wall anywhere, you could look at it. If you wanted to see what the maybe like how much electricity you're consuming, whatever, you could see that on your wall through augmented reality. But in terms of construction itself, it's just the old thing that we've always had, I think. Yeah, but there's also like more room for improvement in those two fields.
Thank you for your interesting add up. It actually triggered my senses to remember something. Um, Obviously, when we talk of smart homes, we have to sensors, something I nearly forgot about.
Can you repeat that? I didn't
If
hear
we
you.
think about smart homes, we have to think about sensors.
Right.
Exactly. So I don't know how much you know about sensors.
Hmm.
What is the improvement on that side? To check temperature, to detect humidity, and all of that.
Oh, it's very improved, and also like every day it's getting better actually. But I also I think we didn't define what a smart home is. Basically, so it's a smart home obviously, but it's just a house that is full of sensors and full of controllers and can communicate. That's all a smart home is. These sensors can talk to each other, controllers can talk to each other, and you can also they can communicate with each other. Controlling could be automatic, or you could trigger them. Basically, that's a smart home. And they can't live without sensors. And if you look at the increasing need that we have on phones, like the increasing functionality that we need from phones, you could see how fast sensors are rising. Like your even NFCs with iPhones, gyroscopes, yeah, getting more very accurate. A lot of sensors. So with also the advent of smart homes, you're having all of these things getting increasingly super accurate and also getting very small too. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
So, my dear listener, if you were not staying or you didn't want to wait till the end, you really have gotten this definition. So next time I entreat you to stay till the end. Um, this has been an interesting discussion. Daniel, what do you say?
Yeah, it's been very fruitful. I believe we've all learned something new. And as a matter of fact, the technology that is actually improving smart homes goes beyond AR and VR. and even 3D modeling. It is improving rapidly, and different things are contributing to this. Yeah, you know, when tech is improving at this rate, we are to expect great improvement. Even today, what we have now is immense. The kind of futuristic designs we are seeing is very intense, and so what we're seeing in the future is massive. It seems we here in Africa, it looks like we are slightly behind, but I think that
Slightly.
most people, the reality is hitting most people, and they're actually seeing it. And so people are actually making changes. I know of a couple of people who have actually converted their traditional homes to smart homes. And so I think people are catching on. It's not a trend that is very common, but people are catching on, and eventually we are going to get there. So if anybody is planning on getting a home soon, I would entreat the person to consider starting early with what we have now with in terms of smart homes, and the person will not regret it at all.
Thank you, Daniel. So before I wrap up, yeah, that reminds me of my trip to Kenya when I was in Concord Hotel. So, well, I didn't see it before. So by the time I enter my room and I put on my TV, it says, "Hello, Mr. Daki." I'm like, okay. Since when did the TV know my name? Anyways. So it's been a great discussion. Thank you, Sammy, for making time. Thank you, Daniel, for making time. We'll catch you on the next episode. But you can just follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, everywhere, including Twitter, at @IONibbles. I was your host, and I'm still your number one host, the hottest, Milash.